Hey, Tony Gaskins here, popping in now. Not sure if you've seen this, but the Michigan State football coach is in a little bit of hot water because a young lady, and I seen this young lady some time back, she goes around and she speaks to sports teams. And the article on USA Today said that she was paid $10,000 to tell her story because she went through a situation where she was gang raped by football players and athletes at her college, I believe it was. And so she goes and she's an advocate, and she talks to teams and other organizations, and she has a nonprofit organization. And I remember seeing her work. Well, she started conversing with this football coach weekly. And they said, based on the call logs or what have you, that they were talking about twice a week at night, like typically around 30 minutes. And it went from talking about her work and her mission and what she wanted to do with the football team to talking more personal. And one night, the conversation was a little personal. And I think they said it was after midnight. Like we always say, nothing open after midnight, but McDonald's drive-through and some legs. And they had a phone call, and it was 36 minutes. And said while they was talking, he was making reference about she said she wanted to go to the gym so she could look better naked. And he was talking about her butt. And she is a woman with a shape. Her name is Brenda Tracy. And I think his name Mel Tucker. Now, he started breathing heavy, and she asked him what he was doing. And he said that he was, pleasuring himself. And then she said that when he was done, he said, "Okay, thank you, good night." And he said that she said that it would be okay if they did, if they had phone sex or what have you. She says the opposite. So here's the thing. To me, what it really sounds like is that she was talking to him, building with him to further her work. And it also, when you make a living from doing something, you have to be intentional about it too. And $10,000, I can tell you that to go speak to a team, that's a lot of money. I work with several sports teams, and we aren't often paid $10,000. That's your top best-selling authors. Like these men, they're not really giving a lot of speakers $10,000. These coaches, on average, even at big schools, you will get from 1,000 to 5,000. And so 10,000, that's a pretty chunk of change. And then when your name get out there and you speak into a school every week or 2 schools a week, you can, you looking at 10K, you looking at 40 grand to as much as 30, 60, 90, 120,000 in a month. And then also the article said that the coach donated $2,500 to her nonprofit, which that's still money that can, pay bills. And so when I first saw her, I said to myself, being a man, knowing men, I said a lot of coaches are going to bring her in for the wrong reasons. They understand what she went through, but they don't care nothing about that. 9 out of 10 of them do not care what she went through in college. I'm just here to tell you. I'm gonna just be honest with you because of the way men are built. 9 out of 10 men don't care nothing about what she went through. And a lot of men will bring her in because she looked like a white woman, but she built like an African woman. So she's not built like your typical ideal, what you would think of a Caucasian woman. So she looked like she could be kind of mixed. And we live in a world where a lot of men are perverted. And every woman under the sound of my voice knows that I'm not lying when I say there are men that you can tell him your trauma and he will use your trauma against you. He will say, oh, well, you done been through this or you done been through that. So that means that what I'm doing ain't that bad. If you went through gang rape in college, then this little bit of phone sex shouldn't faze you. And that's how a lot of men who are perverted and nasty and have not grown and matured as a man or have no relationship with Christ, that's how they're going to move. And so I could see that too, just looking at this particular coach. But the thing about it is any man is capable of that if he is not on his P's and Q's, and if he does not have the right people around him and the right structure in his life. Now, when I go speak to sports team, top teams, I convict the coaches as well. It's coaches. I just got a call from a coach a couple of days ago that said he still remember my messages at his last school that he was at. Now he's at a new school and he want me to come talk to his team about what I speak on, because I'm speaking to the players on something different than all other motivational speakers, all other speakers that come in and work with the team. My message to these young men is the only one that hit on what I hit on. And so I'm talking to them like that. And so the coaches come to me and they say, man, you changed my life too. You got me together. You got me right. And that's the goal. It ain't just by the players. It's by every man in the room. And so these coaches, what they do oftentimes is they'll bring a woman in with a booty and a smile because the pervert in them want to see this attractive woman in person. And then they also will bring in speakers who are rah-rah speakers, who just go in there with a motor and a voice and got a rev to their voice that it give you a false motivation and get you falsely crunk and fake motivated for 45 minutes, but it doesn't change your life. It doesn't challenge you as a man. It don't challenge you in your darkness. It just make you want to go lift more weights and drink more creatine and protein shakes and go bash somebody's head in or go dunk on somebody's head. And that's not what it should be about. And then they bringing in mental coaches, but they're not bringing in life coaches. And so this coach, he paying money to a mental coach, the article said. Then he paying money to this woman, but that lets you know that the fact that he was talking to her multiple times a week. And I'm going to tell you, head coaches at major programs don't have enough time to talk to nobody 2 times a week for 30 minutes, unless this person is their mentor, this person on their staff that they work with, or this person is their spouse, somebody very close in their life. So what this young lady did as well, you have to move wiser. You have to start to seek to understand the nature of humans, and not just men, but the nature of humans. And you have to, as an adult, male or female who has experienced trauma, you have to know, you cannot assume that you are safe with anybody. You have to set boundaries. So this man called her at 12:36 a.m. and she picked up the phone. And she is on the phone talking after midnight with a married man about looking better naked. And that's not really a conversation you want to have. And this is all the facts that USA Today posted, because she cooperated with USA Today and turned over, I think it said 1,200 pages or 120 pages. I think it was a 1 and a 2 and a 0 or multiple zeros. I was like, how many pages? is in this case, but it's a lot of pages in this case. And so she is saying he did this. Now, he is saying that this was consensual. So he in essence is admitting to masturbating while on the phone with her. So he's saying it happened. Now, I'm not sure how she would verify that it happened unless they were on FaceTime, but it said he called her. It didn't imply that it was FaceTime. Now, this article with Brenda Tracy and I think his name Mel Tucker is on USA Today, so you're going to read it. And it's long. It's a long article. And he is set to be paid another $80 million. And what happened is the incident happened, and her therapist and other people have testified that she came to them within a few days of it happening. And she didn't report it until 8 months later. And she was trying to be quiet at first because she didn't want to jeopardize her work. And she said he had kind of made some things that sounded like threats. Like if what they had going on got out to the public, he would be fine, but she would be she may lose her position in life doing what she does with teams. And so she said because of that, that was in her mind, which is understandable when you make a living a certain way and, you know, this your bread and butter, going and speak to these teams, because her message is something that a team could bring her in every single year. And so I could understand that. And she had an engagement coming up with his team and they canceled it last minute. And she said that she was told they canceled it because the mental coach was coming in to work with the team. And so now her work pretty much got canceled. They talked about rescheduling, but he let her know the real reason it was canceled is because he was upset that she and her assistant was gossiping about his messed up marriage. Where his marriage could have been perfect and he could have been telling that lie to get more of her time and attention, which once you've been married for a while, it's easy to cheat if you want to cheat because your spouse gets so used to you that the honeymoon phase is over. So like right now, it's I think after 10 o'clock and I'm sitting in here in my home office recording a video and my wife minding her business. So I could be in here on FaceTime or on the phone with another woman. And I could go get in the car and say, I'm going to Steak and Shake. Steak and Shake, send me a check. I'm going to Steak and Shake, and I could be on the phone and be literally cheating. Now, I might be on the phone with a client. Like I just got off the phone for the last 2 hours. I've been on the phone coaching clients. So, but them 2 hours I was on the phone, I could have been building an affair. And my wife didn't text me, call me now in time because we locked in. We done been married 16 years. So the coach marriage could or could not have been on the rocks. But that is a story that a man will tell a woman when he's trying to cheat. And so she apologized to him about talking to her assistant about his marriage being on the rocks. And the assistant showed a text message of her saying that her and the coach had a heart-to-heart and they agreed that they could only be friends, and that she's saying she glad it didn't get weird, and that he said he willing to continue to help with everything. Whatever everything is, it shows that there's some of her work is involved here in what she's doing. And so that becomes one of them things where sometimes a woman may say, like in a marriage, they stay because of finances. So people call it financial abuse. And in this case, he was putting checks in her pocket. And then when he heard that she was gossiping about his marriage, he started canceling those checks. So she broke their confidentiality. he was boo-boo the fool because he shouldn't have ever confided in a speaker who came to speak to his team about his marriage. He should have been in therapy and coaching, talking about his marriage instead of talking to this woman who happens to have a shape and a smile. And he trying to make moves. And in the article, it say he asked her if he wasn't a football coach and if he wasn't married, would he date her? And she said no because they work together. And so, playing hard to get, that makes a man want a woman more. And in fact, that is playing hard to get if a woman tells a man she wouldn't date him, but yet she doing things that resemble dating, like answering the phone after midnight. And so there is some responsibility that have to be taken. Fortunately, that they weren't in person and it wasn't anything physical. And rightfully so, she felt violated for him using her voice and her phone presence to pleasure himself. Fortunately, she was not touched and physically harmed in the exchange. To God be the glory for that. And after her money was cut off and stuff started getting canceled, she said she knew the real reason. And so they talked, and then he agreed to keep helping, but the help didn't come. They didn't continue working. And then 8 months later, she decided that she needed to come forward because she can't be an advocate for women who have gone through this stuff or going through this or may go through it if she don't stand on what she talks on. So she said she needed to come forward and let this be known that they were on the phone after midnight for 36 minutes and he pleasured himself while on the phone. Now, what his attorney is saying is, so are y'all saying that an adult cannot have phone sex if they want to have phone sex? Like, are y'all saying it's a crime for him to have had phone sex with this woman who was on the phone with him, who could have hung up the phone, who, if she knew what he was on because he had been talking like this about him and her and would she date him, who could have cut it off, but she continued to deal with him and entertain him and talk to him because of the work that they were doing. And that work is not pro bono work. It involves large checks in the sum of $10,000 and donations from him, which we're not being told every time she spoke. I think she had went to speak to the team. I think the article said 3 times, or they had been working together since either 2020 or 2020. I think 2021. That would have been post, pandemic or what have you. And she spoke at the school. And so I think the report was filed. I believe it said 2022 or sometime. But now he is suspended without pay. Now, he is set to be paid another $80 million. And he signed a large contract. And if he is fired for poor performance, like as a coach, he will still be paid his money. But the clause that they can cancel this is if he is fired for this type of conduct. And Michigan State is the same school with little nasty Nasser, who was the USA Gymnastics pervert, who I think inappropriately touched over 300 minors in his work, where he had to check their private areas. And I think he got 100 years, I think the article said, and rightfully so, that he deserved every day of it. And so Michigan State, it sounds like because they got a bunch of reports on him that they ignored, that they swept under the rug, and then it all hit the fan. So now they want to take a very stern stance. And there was a woman quoted in an article, I think from the school, that said that the way they handle this could either do a lot of harm or could do a lot of healing. And I think that that's unfair, because what this coach has done, although it is perverted and nasty, he shouldn't have did it, especially without her permission, and especially being married. That's first and foremost. But it's he said, she said. He's saying she said it was consensual. He's saying it was consensual. She's saying it wasn't consensual. The fact that she on the phone after midnight kind of says, what's going on? Are you his crisis counselor? Are you the person he gonna call when he having a heart attack? Are you the person he gonna call when he having a wreck, when he get in a car wreck? Like, why are you answering the phone after 12 a.m.? And so I believe that's what it said it was. And why you talking to this man multiple times a week? So something going on here in this here relationship. And so this makes it he said, she said, because this wasn't anything physical. Now, me personally as a man, I'm kind of looking at Coach with a side eye, because he's a little older and he look a little heavy. So just being able to get that thing up, being able to get it up on command over the telephone, it's men half his weight and half his age that can't do that. It's men half his age struggling. So, Coach, man. So to me personally, when I'm hearing it, I'm like, was he on the phone breathing hard and he's saying that to thinking he gonna turn her on, or seeing if she gonna engage in it and she gonna do a little something herself? Or was he really doing this? And if he was faking it, then he definitely would be too embarrassed to say, I actually was faking it because I'm struggling with ED. So it could have been real and he did it, since he's saying he did it. But he got 80 million on the line. 80 million. And this is something that some could look at it and say she did it out of spite. She did it out of revenge, because her work was cut off. Her money was cut off with Michigan State. Some could imply that based on how the article reads. It could be implied that. Now, we cannot go into the space of victim shaming. And we also have to determine if him doing something to himself while being on the phone to her makes her a victim if he did not touch her, and if he did not say what he was doing to her. But the article says she asked him, what are you doing? And he said, I got a hard D. And so there is a space for a man who has $80 million on the line. You have to feel very comfortable with a woman. And this me analyzing this from a former player, a former womanizer. You have to feel very comfortable and very familiar to risk $80 million, because if it's one thing that men love more than sex, is money. For 80 million, ma'am, don't even text my phone. Ma'am, talk to my assistant. Ma'am, I got 80 million on the line. Talk to my assistant's assistant intern. And the assistant's intern will tell the assistant, then my assistant's assistant will tell my assistant, then my assistant will tell my wife, then my wife will tell me. I got 80 M's. If I got 80 million on the line, man, we not fit to be on the telephone. So for this man, for one, being a black man dealing with perceivably a white woman, she could be biracial. After Ime Udoka, who was the head coach of the Boston Celtics, was fired for his infidelity on a girlfriend, which it was with another staffer, so he had to be fired for that conduct. But he's a black male and it was a white female. So that already sent a notice to every man. One, don't deal with nobody that you working with. Two, it also sent a racial message. Don't be no black man dealing with a white woman in an inappropriate way. Because we don't see as many instances where black women come out and tell about an inappropriate situation with a black man, whether she is protecting him or whether she just decides she's gonna just chalk it up and cut all ties and not speak on it. And so for this young lady to take this stance where it wasn't physical, and to take that stance 8 months later after her money had been cut off, and she said herself that she didn't want to tell because she didn't want to jeopardize her business, it kind of sends the wrong message, because a principle is a principle. So if you stand on principle, even if you got $100 million on the line, if you got $1 million on the line, if you stand on a principle, you're going to speak up on that principle before this person who victimized you even has a chance to use their power and snatch away your food off your table by pulling back a job that he had offered. You're not even going to leave that power in his hands when you're standing on a principle in this situation. And having gone through something as deep as she went through, and then for this to be far, 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 far less, because they were in two different states. It didn't seem that they were on video. She had complete control and power to hang up the phone. As soon as she heard him breathing hard, as soon as he said, "I have a hard D," she could have hung up the phone. So there's also have to be responsibility. It wouldn't be fair just to him to say, well, because of what she went through, when she heard you breathing hard, and although this is 10, 15 years that she went through this, or however long it's been, she was frozen. And so we gonna have to fire you because she said you did this. And you didn't admit it to doing it. You didn't admit it to touching yourself. So it may not be all the way fair to him because it wasn't physical. And now it's sounding like he said, she said, and because her money was cut off, and because she said that she didn't want to say nothing at first because she didn't want to mess up her business, that sends a lot of mixed messages. But at the same time, the school now, he may get the punishment that they should have gave Nasser when they first heard about Nasser. So this also brings about a race issue. So when you are told that Nasser is literally sticking his finger inappropriately into children, and you don't do anything, and he's a white male, but now you hear tell from a fully grown woman that a man was on the phone with her after midnight, where she answered the phone and stayed on the phone with him for 36 minutes and was talking about her naked body, going to the gym to get her naked body into so she could look better naked, and then said he was breathing hard and said that he had a hard D. So now after she says this, you immediately, on the first allegation, you suspend him and without pay, when this is how he feeds his family, and you don't know if there's any truth to her side of it. Now, you know it's truth because he said that he did it, but you don't know if it's truth that it was not consensual. So to fire him without pay when he is a football coach, when police officers in your very state have killed people who were unarmed and they got suspended with pay while the investigation was carried out, it starts to make it seem that there may be some bias and there may be some racial prejudice in this situation, and that Nasser's, I don't know if it's Larry Nasser, Nasser's chickens are coming home to roost on Mel Tucker's lawn. And that is going to cause some uproar with certain individuals in this here case, because to just assume that everything this woman is saying is true and suspend him without pay, it seems a bit harsh, especially considering that you consensually answered the phone and you consensually stayed on the phone. When it's different when you in person and you want to try to run and the man could lay hands on you and he could beat you and he could kill you, he could take your life. But when you are in a whole different state and you on the phone, I want y'all to hang up the phone in that case. If you on the phone, take a lesson from what this young lady did not do and take a lesson from it and hang up the phone. And don't sit, now that you done heard the situation, learn from it. Now, we can't fully judge her because we don't know how her trauma has affected her. But it also does speak to if she has or has not healed for this situation, for her to handle this situation the way it was handled, meaning by hearing that he is violating her sexually through the phone and staying on the phone. That if she was paralyzed in that moment on the phone, then that to me would imply that she is still very traumatized from what she's gone through. But at the same time, it also lends to, well, if you are on the phone having sexual conversations and you mentioning your butt or your body or being naked, and you're talking about, y'all have had conversations about would you date and how you feel about each other. He said that she was making comments and that she told him that if he wasn't married, she would be all over him. She says that that's not true, but at the same time, she's in the same situation when he says that. It's he said, she said. If she says, yes, it's true, I told him that I would be all over him if he was not married, that does ruin her credibility as a professional. And if she is saying that she was afraid to tell because she didn't want to ruin her professional career or ruin the work that she was doing with him, then that also speaks to her not wanting to admit that she was flirting with him. And because he said that she was flirting with him and they were flirting back and forth. Now, y'all know, if you watch my videos, you will see I don't take a man's side just because I'm a man. You will see I don't take a black man's side just because I'm a black man. I call it straight down the middle. Me personally, knowing how men love money and knowing that typically when a man is going to do right, he does right at that stage when he's in a place where he has a lot to lose. Like if I think the whole contract was like 95 million or something like that. But if nearly $100 million won't get you together, I'm not sure what'll get you together. And so for a man to sexually harass a woman who is a rape survivor, he is one or two things. It's one or two things here. Either he was made to believe that they had this type of relationship, or he is a very sick and deranged individual. For him to violate a woman in an area that her entire life is dedicated to talking about and exposing and being an advocate for women who have gone through this and trying to talk to men to appeal to the heart of men so that they won't do to a woman what was done to her. For him to violate her, sexually harass her, even though it was verbally, would make him a sick and deranged individual if he was not led on. Now, if he was led to believe that they were having an emotional affair, and he said that she told him when it came to the topic of phone sex, she said it wouldn't hurt if they did it one time and that she would do it. And so if that is true, which we can't say we believe her and then say we don't believe him, because what reason do we have to believe her that it was not consensual and then not believe him if he says it was consensual? Because to get to where he's at as a black man in America, to where a school is going to pay you $100 million, you have to have shown a track record of integrity and character. Now, this is Michigan State, where very major speakers, top speakers who are credible and reputable men go speak to his team. And I was in the office today with someone who worked at Michigan State, who knows him personally and never saw this coming. So the people who know him personally, they did not see this coming. And obviously the school did not see this coming, or they would have never made him a head coach if they thought he was capable of sexual harassment, period. So that leads you to say, okay, was he relaxed like Samson And is she playing Delilah? Or was she completely 100% professional and did not lead him on at all, and he imposed his will on her? See, the jury's still out, but this is the thing, and this is what I want men to understand. You can't even give room to that. You can't even put yourself in that type of situation. You can't take fire in your chest and not expect to be burned. You can't even get to a situation to where you as a professional is talking to someone in an unprofessional way. You can't even get to that place to where what you doing could be misinterpreted. So this is what every single man who see this need to realize and understand. That this here thing real. This here thing real. So you got to be careful about this. And now, being that she has been victimized, and based on just bias, the school is going to be led to side with her because they're going to say, you know, what reason does she have to lie? Like she know this man contract is online. She know what this man could lose. And so she's not coming to us and telling us that he physically raped her. She's not coming to us and telling us that he touched her inappropriately. She telling us that they were on the phone after midnight and she heard heavy breathing and she asked him, what you doing? And he said he got a hard D. And so she coming to tell us that, you know, she was violated. And she putting this into the classification. So Title IX got to investigate this. And I've seen this Title IX play out for male athletes. And they were dismissed from their team. And every time, even without proper evidence, just because of the allegation alone. Now, and that is what makes it unfair. But that's also why men need to be extremely careful. You need to be extremely careful, and you need to be extremely transparent. And you also need to have a accountability partner. So if you're going to be in a situation where you dealing with a woman, you may actually need to take a friend over there to her dorm room or to her apartment or to her house with you. You may need to talk on speakerphone. You may need to screenshot, save all your texts and screenshot it. Screenshot all your texts. Now, when they went to search the phone records, she had deleted her text messages and he had deleted his text messages. She says she deleted the text messages to cut ties after he did that on the phone. I'm not a woman, so I don't know, and it would be unfair for me to speak to what it would feel like what a woman feels like if a man is pleasuring himself on the phone with her. I don't have a clue what that would feel like, and I don't have a clue what it would feel like what a woman feel like to go through what she has gone through, and how you would feel with a man that is in this position of power that you know and trust or respect do this to you, like over the phone. I'm not sure how her trauma response, what that trauma response would be like, so I can't fairly speak to that on how that would feel. I can't speak to that. So all I could do is guesstimate and assume, but we're not in a place as men and women to guesstimate and assume how the opposite sex feels because we have no clue how the brain of the opposite sex works. And so the same way I could see that me being a man, I could see for him to do that, for a man to call a woman after midnight, he already feeling some type of way, like some type of safety or assurance with that woman to call her after midnight. That is something in itself, because men are not naive today, because after we are post Me Too movement. So men are not naive to screenshots. Men are not naive to a woman telling her best friend everything that we say and everything that we do. We know somebody is being told. So men are not naive to that. So for him to be in the position he's in and to have what he has on the line and to be calling a woman after midnight and then to be pleasuring himself on the phone with her, I'm wondering if he was led to believe that he was safe, that this was a safe space, that this is what they were on. And I'm also wondering, if that was not the case, how many other times has he done this and the woman didn't speak up and speak out because she's not an advocate for women standing up against things like this woman is. So if he is that type of individual to impose his will on a woman who has been nothing more than professional with him, then I would have to assume that he would have done this numerous times before, or at least before, period. And that's where it doesn't really add up, because how do you get to this place? How do you get to this point in your life? Now, that's why I remind people about the Bible saying what's done in the dark gonna come to the light. And I believe that God gives us grace for our ignorance and our stupidity. But if you take your grace for granted and you keep doing what you know is wrong, eventually it's going to blow up in your face. So I don't know if that's the case with this here brother. And if you see this here brother, give me a call and let me talk to you about it. And I know I'm younger than you, but I'll be able to coach you and get you all the way together going forward. And M.A. Udoka was inappropriate on the job with a coworker who was married. So she was equally guilty. I would assume she got fired as well. He was rehired. He got a new job. I had a boss in the NBA when I worked for a particular NBA team as the team life coach, which if you got a team in Division I or in the pros and don't have a life coach, give me a call. Now y'all see, y'all coaches need life coaches and y'all players need life coaches, not just sports psychologists and all those kind of people who just deal with the brain and with the mind and stuff. You need somebody that's going to deal with integrity and character and abstinence of purity, faithfulness, all of the other stuff as well, as you could see. Stop just paying mind coaches to come and do hypnosis and have people pumped up to go play a game, and have people in there that's going to help these young men with life skills on a weekly basis, the way y'all paying the mind coach to help them with their mind on a weekly basis. Pay somebody to help them with their life on a weekly basis so that they don't end up in a situation like their coach. And that is just really, really sad for these young men who trying to grow as young men and they coach is tied up in this. And I'm going to tell you the truth, the way men are, when that woman was speaking, probably 90% of the men she speak to don't hear a word she say. And they looking at her physically. They looking at her, they judging her based on if they think she's pretty or not, if they think she's shapely or not, because that's how the male mind works. A lot of women don't believe that or know that, but that's how the male mind works. Men are visual creatures, and until a man is renewed by Christ, until a man comes to a point in his life where he has grown and he has matured, that's how his mind is going to work. And if you ever sit around men who have not been renewed, you will find out very quickly that's how their mind works. Very, very filthy. And I'm just calling it like it is. I'm not bashing men because I'm a man. So I'm also telling on myself. I had to come to a place of renewal. I had to come to a place of becoming a new creature. I had to be born again, meaning I had to be reset all the way for me to change my life. And so that just is what it is. So listen to me when I'm telling you. So what the coach has done is very, very unfortunate. I don't know who to believe, but I also want to hear from the women. I want to hear from the women. Like, as a woman, do you feel that she handled their interactions and this the right way? You know, because I can't speak on how a woman, and I could give my guess like I have in this, but I can't really speak to it all the way. And if you are a woman and you are open about your story and you've gone through trauma like she has, you know, how would you have interacted and dealt with this coach? And do you feel that as a woman, do you feel she sent any mixed signals, or if her answering the phone after midnight and then them moving into a sexual conversation? Because for him to have a hard D at his age, the conversation had to be sexual. I'm 39 and I'm not finna get no hard D talking to a woman if we talking about rape prevention seminars. And why are we talking after midnight? I'm just confused on that part. If everything is professional and on the up and up, why are we talking after midnight? And if I'm not a line of emergency for this person, I'm not answering the phone after midnight. It's somebody calling me right now, but I'm not a line of emergency for that salesperson in China. So I'm not answering the phone. She work at a manufacturer in China and she calling me and it's 10 or 11 p.m. This is an inappropriate time to be calling my WhatsApp about this here clothing items and products that I'm ordering. So I'm not answering the phone. I got text messages coming in right now from men, from Division I, Power 5 coaches like this gentleman, and other men in the sports industry that's coming in right now. I'm not answering them messages because the time of night that it is, and also I'm not a line of emergency for those men. So they up and they moving around, they are out and about, or they moving around, they thinking, and they sending a message before they forget about it, but I'll get to it when I get to it. And so I'm curious why this coach called her after midnight. And I'm not necessarily curious, but I just don't want to put my stuff on it, my opinion on it, as if it's exact facts. And so I want to hear from the ladies as well on this. Like, is she fully innocent in this and completely victimized in this situation? Or are there some things that you think she will do differently going forward? Now, honestly, personally, I don't know if her business had taken a hit across the board. And she was like, if she had taken a hit across the board, or I don't know if she just came to a point to where she couldn't live with herself anymore if she didn't speak up about this, which is what she said, basically. And you got to tell your story. If you got to tell your story, if you want to tell your story, you got the right to tell your story. That's her right. So, but this will almost pretty much end her business with sports teams, because at least 90% of coaches will say, I don't want to even be involved with her. We'll bring somebody else in who speaks on that topic, because just reading the story, it just, I want to believe her and take her side, but I'm a little confused just by the facts, just by how stuff was happening, and the screenshot of to her assistant, to her assistant, about them having a heart-to-heart, about them just her and the coach remaining friends. Like, how did the conversation get to that, even that level with a married man, if there wasn't some ground given and some leeway given? So I just feel like, if me, as I'm a coach, I'm just not going to bring her in, because I know that she's not the only woman who has gone through that, and she's not the only advocate. So I'm going to bring in another advocate, just because I just don't want to be in a situation to where me texting her, hey, are you ready for the session next week? How's everything going? And then she says, I'm having a really bad day. And I'm like, well, you know, what's wrong? How can I help you? And then she starts to open up, and then I'm a listening ear, and then something happened in our working relationship. The school decide, or the AD decide to go a different way. And then she takes a text message and says, this coach was coming on to me inappropriately because he said that I'm a beautiful spirit and I'm a beautiful person, and that a man will be lucky to have me. Now, a man shouldn't be saying that anyways, but a man is going to be in his head about that, of just like, okay, what is being nice and kind, and what's crossing the line? And yes, men do know, but when you see a situation like this, and you a man, and you know that if it was that easy for men to sexually harass a woman with this, then it would be happening with all the coaches. If it was that common, it would be happening with all the coaches, with 80-90% of the coaches. So when men look at this, they're automatically, I'm already telling you, not every man will admit it in the comments because of the Me Too movement and being afraid of being called a victim shamer. Like I'm probably being called right now from even processing this and talking through it. Like people just jump to outlandish, real crazy opinions and name calling when you try to have a due process after someone has been accused of something that is heinous and that could ruin their life. You want to we should have a process of innocent until proven guilty, and we should have a due process. But we live in a society to where when something is alleged against you, 50% of people already off rip believe it. And then if you are a black person or a person of color, anybody who has a bias towards your race or your color or your religion, then they're automatically going to assume you're guilty. It's kind of like after 9/11, which today is 9/11. After 9/11, and it was said that it happened with the Taliban, that the Taliban did this, how many people of all different, races and nationalities and other religions started to look at all Muslims differently. And imagine an allegation being made against a Muslim, and imagine somebody says, hey, this Muslim guy with this who wears a turban to school said that he finna blow everything up. Imagine this kid is pulling a prank, and he going to the teacher to tell that this Muslim kid said he gonna blow the school up. That Muslim kid is gonna be expelled from school without due process after 9/11, because they're gonna say we just have to be safe. We just gotta be cautious. And the kid who made that up could be laughing with his friends and could actually be racist, prejudice, or whatever. So this is real with bias. This comes with when after something happens, that's how bias works. So the fact that this is Michigan State and that's where Nassar was, this may be handled totally different. And there has been cases where there were white coaches accused of sexual harassment of a worker and they weren't suspended right away, or there was due process, and people will find those cases and bring those cases up as well. And then they'll also bring cases where even like with police officers who are protect and serve were not fired without pay after taking somebody's life who even had their hands up or were running away or what have you. We seen Neighborhood Watch, George Zimmerman, get off for murder. And he wasn't even a police officer who has the right to take a life. He was Neighborhood Watch. And so people gonna compare apples to oranges in this, and they're gonna try to, minimize it or put it into a different lens and perspective. And that's going to cause a lot. That's going to cause a lot of controversy up there at Michigan State. And I can't be mad at the young lady for telling what happened to her if it's the truth. That's her story. That's her right. And me personally, if it's the truth and the coach was emotionally cheating on his wife and he got beside himself, let this be a lesson for all of us, men and women, because women could be inappropriate too with a man and say what she'll do to him. I remember working in corporate and a lady came up to me in the cafeteria with a note that said she wanted to do such and such and such and such and such and such to me. And I was absolutely floored. I was absolutely gabble-abalist. I was just malagulated. I could not believe this. And when I tell you the lady was pretty, with a shape, I could not believe it. I'm like, boy, she made me think I looked good. I went to like, man, what in the, and I'm not lying like the boys from Fresh and Fit be lying on theyself. This, God be my witness. And so she had me questioning me like, boy, what kind of, is this my cologne? Like, what in the world? And so women could do this too. So let that be a lesson to everybody. Do not get out of pocket. Do not get beside yourself. And see, and the other thing, and I'm no longer speaking about this lady. I'm no longer speaking about this lady now, okay? So y'all, let's cut that right there. But I'm going to tell you something that does happen. Something that does happen is there are people who will use a Jezebel spirit, men and women, who will use a Jezebel spirit to prey on someone who they know looks challenged compared to them. And if this person is in a position of power, they will get some compromising dirt on this person to be able to extort and blackmail this person. And essentially is saying to this person, you got to keep working with me or paying me or what have you. You got to keep doing this so that I don't tell. I got thrown off because I was thinking about, now back to the lady. Now I'm not saying that's what she did now, but back to that article, I believe it said that he said she told him she wanted a sugar daddy. Now, the coach is no looker. I don't know what a handsome man look like, but I could tell when a man is not a looker. Because as a relationship coach, I was a matchmaker as well. And so I've seen countless lists from women, and none of those lists describe the facial features of this coach. Now, I'm not saying that he is ugly, but I'm saying that I don't think he is considered a looker. So if he makes $10 million a year or $8 million a year, he probably has heard before from attractive women that they are looking for a sugar daddy. And I believe that's what the article said, that he said she said to him. And that she said if he wasn't married, she would be all over him. Now, I'm pretty much led to believe that she said some things in that realm for him to be calling her after midnight and for him to be touching himself on the phone with another $80 million on the line and 100+ young men and probably 150 to 200 total staff in his football program looking up to him as the head of the program. For him to put that on the line, I feel like he had to be under a Samson spell. Whether he put himself under the Samson spell or whether she had a Delilah spirit, in his opinion, that put him into that place of stupidity and ignorance and dumbfoundedness. Because you got to be all the way gone. You got to, I'm trying to tell you, like, listen, Michigan State, if y'all happen to see this, give me a call. I played football in college. I was a running back. I will be up there tomorrow. I'll be up there tomorrow. You don't need to give me, you don't have to give me 80 million. Give me 800,000 a year. Give me 800,000 a year. I'll be up there. Michigan State, I'll be up there. Michigan State, y'all got a jet because he was in Florida on one of y'all donors' jet. Send me the jet tonight. I'm coming up there right now. While he's suspended, I'm coming up there. I will be the team life coach and I'll be the interim head coach. I'll let all the other coaches call the plays, but just let a man with integrity and character be at the helm of your team. Give him a call if you the AD of Michigan State. Give him a call. If anything, I need to be working with the team, but I'm going to tell you like this right here. I don't know if she put him into that dumbfounded state, meaning that he felt comfortable. I'm not blaming her, but I'm saying if she got him to a place to where he dropped his guards and he say, I'm safe to emotional cheat with this woman. She is making herself ready and available, hot and ready like Little Caesars for this emotional affair. I don't know if that was her actions or if that was just him. Just being in a place of just having been upstanding and right standing and straight and narrow for so long that he just got to a place of weakness and said, man, listen, this woman, I'm attracted to this woman so much, I'm finna risk it all. And you done seen the memes and stuff where they show a guy, he looking at a woman and the memes say such and such was ready to risk it all. That is very real. That is very real. Every man has a moment in time or has a interaction or comes across a woman that he say, I'm ready to risk it all. That's something that's true for every man. But you got to be, like I say, renewed. You got to be a new creature. So, coach, it's very unfortunate. My heart breaks because there's men who taking their life over losing $100,000. Like when you watch Netflix, you're gonna see documentaries of guys who they lost $1 million or less and blew their brains out because they lost it in Bitcoin or they lost it in cryptocurrency or they lost, some money. Like people were saying that the dancer, it was allegedly said that the dancer possibly took his life due to losing everything he was worth to that FTX or one of them trading companies the dancer who took his life. So my heart goes out to Mel Tucker, not just about the money, but just knowing how so many men are obsessed with money and worship money, which is sad, but it's just the truth. But not even just the money, but I feel terrible for his wife, if he have children, just his entire staff, every young man he's ever mentored. I feel terrible for the man, because with a situation like that, it's hard to walk and keep your head up. You know, it's hard to, it's going to be literally in a even more simple way. It's going to be hard for him to shake somebody's hand. You see what I'm saying? When you, like, not just walking with his head up, it's like when you meet him and he coming to speak to your school about the mistake he made and you the principal, when he reached that hand out there, you have a visual that you don't want to have because of this here case. So he might be relegated, in addition to losing his job, he may be relegated to fist bumps for the rest of his life. And I'm just being, and this is very real in the sense of what I'm trying to tell you of. Like, think about that, to a point to where nobody don't even want to shake your hand. And I didn't experience that because I'm so transparent in my speeches. I'm giving a speech to an NBA basketball team, and I said, I don't even masturbate. I said, I don't even masturbate. I said, I stopped masturbating. How about the staff start fist bumping me? Knowing that every man in there is jiking off, but because I gave a visual, now they want to fist bump me when I ain't even dealing with Angela. So now think about how this man, if he got children, how they feel. They, especially if they in school, even college. Imagine how everybody looking at them. And you know how children are, especially if they in middle school, high school, college, elementary, they might not know. They might not know, but I would be surprised. Now, some elementary gonna know. They're gonna overhear their parents talking about it. Imagine how them kids is. The jokes that they saying to his kids. Imagine that now. What they got to go through. Like, this is terrible for across the board, and this is why I want every man under the sound of my voice who hear this, put your thing in your pants. Put your thing in your pants. You need to learn how to be a man. You need to stop watching porn. You need to stop jacking off. You need to, right now, today, you have been given grace. That grace about to run out. Listen to what I'm telling you. If this man who got $80 more million on the table, grace finna run out. What you think your little raggedy 50K, 100K, 1 million, 5 million, 2 million compared to his 80 million? If his grace done ran out, yours finna run out too. So that Facebook wife that you got, that work wife that you got, that Instagram wife, that OnlyFans wife, that Pornhub wife, all the different little sites that y'all got out there, all that you got going on, you better cut it off today. You better cut it off today, because you next. You next. And you know how I can say that with boldness and conviction? Because I ain't out here playing with you. I ain't out here playing around. Because I know I got too much to lose. I know I got too much to lose. You hear me? I keep a 10-foot pole on these women. Listen, no, I'm out there every day. I'm getting Heisman Trophy. Listen, I'm hearing these women with Herschel Walker, Walter Payton, stiff arms. You hear me? Get thee behind me, Satan. Do not come over here, Jezebel. Do not come over here, Delilah. Bathsheba, don't your butt even go get in that water to bathe. If you know good and well, I could doggone see you out my window. Wait till you know I'm going somewhere to the king's meeting before you go out there and bathe, nah? Out there in front of the window. Listen, I ain't playing around with it. I ain't playing around with it. I don't even let women call me friend. I'm your life coach. I'm your life coach. And anything we doing, I need a check. I need a check because it have to be a business transaction. So if I'm your manager, I need my 10%. I need my 10% because this business. Because if I'm doing it for free, that's going to insinuate that I'm getting something. If I'm on the phone with you, it got to be paid because I am a consultant. I'm not a male friend. I ain't playing with it. And I'm telling y'all, men, let this here Mel Kiper, what's his name? Not Mel Kiper. Mel Tucker. Forgive me. It's somebody named Mel Kiper. Let this Mel Tucker, if that's his name, if that's not his name, forgive me. Michigan State head football coach. Let this be your warning. If that man could fall from a height that high, you could fall from that little hill you on. Cause it ain't too many men. It ain't too many men where he at. You hear me? Michigan State. Call me. Give me a call. I ain't got to be the coach. Let me be the speaker. Listen, I got a story to tell. I was a toxic, controlling, abusive boyfriend in college. And I tell my story. I was a college football player. If this woman done crossed the boundaries of talking to him like she was talking to him, 30 minutes a time, 2 times a week, if that's out of conduct and y'all got to part ways with her, I'm not no woman, but let me come on in there and tell my story. And I guarantee you I'm gonna be on conduct. I'm gonna be inside of the policies and procedure. Let me come in there. But that 10,000, man, listen. Even her. If I was her, I wouldn't have been talking to him. Because with her, if she pretty, let's say she pretty, she could look at him and tell if he looks challenged. So if I'm her, if I was her now, I'm not a woman, so I can't say how a woman think, how a woman move. But if I was a woman and I'm doing business, it's finna be business. Coach, have your assistant call my assistant. We could talk in person in the cafeteria with the other staff at the table when I come in there to speak to your team. But then outside of that, Playboy, do not be calling me. Do not be texting me. I'm going to be ignoring the calls. And then when I respond, hey, so sorry. It's just been a whirlwind. It's been so busy. I apologize. Sometimes it's best to get me by email. Listen, I'm sidestepping. You hit me. I'm high stepping. I'm side. If I'm her, I'm still far. Midnight. Now, 9:01 a.m. Hi, Coach. How are you? How's everything going? Okay. All right. 10,000. Okay. All right. I'll be there. All right. See you. Gotta go. That's how. If I'm a woman, hey, I'm not finna do like this with the bike. I ain't finna be like this with the bike. No. I'm not. Listen, y'all ladies, get a lesson from this. Let's say we giving her the benefit of the doubt. Let's say she is a victim. Let's say she was completely innocent. Let's say all of that right there. Still, get a lesson from it. Arm's length. Talk to my assistant. Have your assistant contact my assistant. Don't be calling me twice a week. Don't call me once a week. We could talk about the speech. We already know what the speech finna hit on. We already know the topic. Talk to me when I come on in there to the office. Don't be calling my phone past. Don't call my phone past 5 p.m. Work hours is 9 to 5. Don't call me after 5. Ladies, take a lesson from this so that you don't end up in that same kind of situation. Because at the same time, yeah, she had to come out. She felt like she had to come out. And she felt like she had to come out and stand on business. But it's going to be some men that hire her to talk to the men. It's going to be some men that hire her because they want to show that not all men move how Coach up there was moving. Some men want to show that. Some men is so nasty that they still want to give a one-arm church hug just to rub down the small of that bite. Some men just gonna want to still just seal. Some men gonna want to just be around her just to feel her energy. So they'll bring in. They ain't got 10K for it. They gonna shoot a 3K, 5K max, just to get her back out there and working. But most of the men, most of these coaches of these teams she talking to, they done. They done. Her team gonna be doing. Oh, and the other very, very tragic and sad thing about this is her assistant, who was a witness, died in a car crash. And that's so sad, right? When you think about that, like, wow. When you think about that, like, what are the odds? Like, wow. So that's why I say we don't know what she going through. And that's why I'm not accusing her of lying. And that's why I'm not just gonna flat out say, oh, she lying, she made all this up, because I don't know what all she dealing with. You know, I don't know what all happened. We don't know all the facts. All we can read is what she said and what he said. So it's he said, she said. And then we just could use inference and try to come to our own type of little conclusion. But it's real out here. It is real out here. But you know what, though? I'm not the type of person that don't learn from other people's mistakes. So I'm finna learn from this coach. And I'm finna adjust how I deal with women. Even though I'm already on the up and up, I'm finna adjust it even a little more just to be safe. I'm finna be even more vigilant, even more careful with the interactions, with the text messages, and just making sure can't nothing be misconstrued. I don't want nothing to be misconstrued. And I'm finna even put in more boundaries of talk time and things of that nature, so that ain't nothing, because I could be 100% on the up and up, but I don't know where this woman mind is at. So if she's in a vulnerable space and she feel like, oh, Tony is being nice to me, and she ain't had a man be nice to her, she may equate being nice to flirting. And this is real with men and women. I done seen it happen on both sides. People who ain't used to nothing, they will literally think somebody who is nice to them, who smile at them, who wave to them, who talk to them, they will literally think somebody who nice to them want to sleep with them or want to be with them. And so just this situation right here, based on he feeling like this was consensual, and he feeling like she was kind of shooting her shot and kind of flirting with him. And then it turns out she say, no, it wasn't none of that. You delusional. Like, you really beside yourself right now. Like, you really tripping, talking about I was coming at you. No, Playboy, it wasn't none of that. So the fact that that could be misconstrued like that, if that's the truth, I'm finna move even more strict. So to my clients, that's women that's in my year of coaching program that got text access, do not be surprised if you hear a chat GPT response. Hello, how are you today? I hope all is well. If it is not well, I hope all gets better. Please let me know how I may assist you in this time of day. Thank you very much. Sincerely, purely regards, Tony A. Gaskins, comma, Jr., period. Do not be surprised if you start hearing that right there instead of my normal, hey, how's everything going? Hope you well. You know, keep your head up. Smile like the sunshine or whatever I might be saying. But listen, I'm going to have to make sure can't nothing get misconstrued. I know it's misconstrued. But hey, I got to go. I come on here. I'm supposed to be on here 30 minutes. It's just. But with stuff like this, you got to take your time. You got to be thorough because this is a delicate situation. It's a delicate situation because I already know just me talking about it and addressing it. And the reason why I'm addressing it is because it was not physical. Like there was no bodily harm. There was no, forcible, physical situation. That's why I'm addressing it. And also because it's in the public. So we have to, me working in relationships and me working with men on integrity and character, I feel like I need to address this, but that's why I had to take my time with it to be sensitive, because even with the way that I took my time, it's still going to be people that say I'm victim shaming. And I feel like you can only, if you heard what I said, you can only say that if you still traumatize yourself, if you still hurting yourself, or if you going through a similar situation that yours is 100% factual because you know the facts. Whereas with this one, we don't know the real facts. We just got what she said happened. We got what he said happened. And then we got what her people said she came to them and said. And we also know how that works too, because we all would lie for somebody we know. So we also can't just assume that what they saying is the truth, because a lot of us would lie for somebody we know and love, especially if we feel like they have been victimized, even if it wasn't a situation where they came to us within 3 days. It may have been 3 weeks, but humans will do that type of stuff for somebody they know, love, and care about. And I kind of want to see the situation, with her assistant and how she passed away. I would like to learn more about that, because that is very unfortunate. And I'm just hoping that has nothing whatsoever to do with the coach or none of this, that's just completely, totally, completely separate, which I believe it is, because the article did not insinuate or imply that it was any funny business, that it wasn't like somebody took her out because she was a witness that could take the stand and cost him this remaining 80 million. It didn't have any implication to that. So I'm assuming that was just something completely, totally unrelated. But at the same time, it adds a very dramatic and tragic turn to this story. And so it did say that because the witness, who was the closest to the plaintiff, has passed away, it said that, I believe his attorney said that this should be thrown out because of that. And I'm not sure how to feel about that. That's interesting. But this deep. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm praying for everyone involved and everyone who was affected. We all affected because it give us, it knocked the wind out ourselves a little bit. It's like, man, well, you can't do right at that level y'all at. Like, you getting paid $10,000 to speak. He making tens of millions. And at that level, y'all can't keep no professional relationship to where y'all not on the phone with each other, having deep personal conversations when y'all just supposed to be, you know, having a transaction of her coming in and speaking and that being it. Like, why y'all going past that? So it kind of make all us kind of like, man, do we have some hope out here? Like, is these men gonna do right? And for the people, for the people who looking into it on her end, is these women gonna do right? And because it's some things that both of them should have done differently. So it's responsibility that needs to be taken on both sides for the boundaries that they cross. And I get it. Like, all the time when I'm working with somebody new, we have deep, long conversations in the beginning to build that rapport, to get to know each other if we're going to be working. But that's not a continual thing. That's not a every week we sitting there just deep, or just talking. Like, it's not a continual thing. So that right there kind of, I feel terrible for him. I feel terrible for him. Even if he brought it upon himself, even if he completely 100% was in the wrong and she gave him no indication, she did not say that was cool, she did not say he could do that. Even if he was completely in the wrong for doing this, I still feel bad for him, because I don't believe we should rejoice in anybody's bad choices. I don't believe we should rejoice in anybody's calamity. When these pastors do what they do, when the relationship coaches do what they do, I have to speak on it. I got to call a spade a spade. If you acted like a fool, I got to call you a fool, but I'm not rejoicing in the calamity. I'm not rejoicing in what happened and what went wrong, because that, when you do that, stuff finna come on you. But hey, this Tony Gasson. God bless y'all. Hey, take a lesson from this on both sides. Move better, move differently, move smarter, move wiser. God bless you. Atlanta, for those of y'all who at the meet and greet tomorrow, I'll see y'all tomorrow night. God bless you. I have some other cities maybe coming up that I'll pop in. I'm just doing meet and greets with 20 people, so that it's more personal and we having deeper conversations. And you see how I'm doing it? It's 20 people in the room, men and women. And we talking about just the state of the union. And that's how I'm doing it. I'm not in person and there one-on-one, in person, after midnight. We got to have boundaries, because we don't want no funny business. So get a lesson from this. Learn from what he did wrong. Learn from what she did wrong. Apply it to your situation. And go read the article on USA Today. USA Today, if one of y'all writers watch this video, send me a check. And we're going to be in touch. God bless y'all. We'll talk soon.